dedicated to UFC and Bellator discussion, the MMA community, and combat sports in general. I'm your host, Ryan Smith, and joining me this week is the Combat Sports Talk team. We got Kelechi KC Onyebuchi.
Hello, kids.
That's scary, dude. That's just scary.
I just completely shut down the show.
Oh,
Two
man.
words. Hello, kids.
No, it was that wow and the smile. You're like, hello, kids. That's scary. Like, if you guys are listening to this as the podcast,
Uncle
go to
Creepy
YouTube.
over here.
Go to YouTube and see this face.
Yeah, it was working.
We also got John, the Keys to Victory Keys. What's up, man?
Hey, what's happening, everybody? Happy post-Father's Day. Oh, yeah, somebody, I hate to cut out, somebody had a birthday, okay, and
Happy
kinda
birthday
he let slip. Yeah.
Happy birthday to you. Happy. Well, hold on. There's a lack of rhythm happening right now.
Somebody clapping off beat.
Are we doing the one or the two, folks?
Hold up. Let's talk about that.
We got to clap on beat. Look,
All
people
right.
expect us to be able to clap
Have
on
some
beat.
rhythm.
Like,
We can't have the type of conversation we had a couple of weeks ago, and now we off beat, okay? We can't do
Look now, don't make me bring up KC's listening taste.
Oh, come on. Hey,
I
Mumford and Sons goes hard when you're working out. Y'all just don't know. What y'all know about that banjo while you're working out? Y'all don't know about that.
Thank you for the birthday, the belated birthday wish. No, for real.
oh my goodness. And the man who just finished his trip around the sun, that is George G Money Stalwart.
Thank you. Appreciate the birthday wishes.
All right. Well, we didn't have a show on Monday last week. I was on vacation. Thank you guys for giving me an opportunity to rest and relax down in the Crescent City. I was in NOLA.
I was like, what city is that?
Yeah, that's New Orleans, Louisiana.
Wow, really? You knew.
Look.
You knew.
You'd be surprised.
So I really appreciate that, guys. But we are back. We got a lot to talk about. I really want to start off with stuff that I really wanted to talk about last week, but we didn't get to. So need to kind of catch up. So this is a headline. It's old news for some of you guys, but it's new news for us. And we're going to go into the headliner. All right, this is the headliner. This is where we talk about the things that are top of mind for us here at Combat Sports Talk. And so we got to talk about it, and that's Fight Island. It's been announced. We had it all wrong. We thought it was going to be off the coast of the United States somewhere in a secret desert island that had all this infrastructure. No, it's right in the middle of Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates, Yas Island. There you go.
Okay,
So
let's
basically-
talk. Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead, D. Go ahead, Casey. Go ahead, because
No, this one's all you because I know you're coming in with passion.
Exactly, I'm coming in with passion. Okay, we said it was going to be off the coast of the United States. The United Arab Emirates is way off the coast of the United States. Okay, it is in a place where I know it should be. Believe it or not, it is in a place the equivalent to put. Abu Dhabi is like is to the Middle East what cacao is. I'm sorry, not.
That's the analogy you wanted to use?
Yeah, I like
Well,
it's Abu
You couldn't
Dhabi
have said
is
New
the,
York?
is the New York. Yeah.
No.
Let me help you
It's
out.
not New York. It's more like the Las Vegas. Is the one of this where rich people go to spend money. Okay,
'Cause New
rich
York is
people
not?
go there. Hey,
I was about to say,
okay,
so
no,
you can gamble
I'm
in
just
Abu
saying
Dhabi?
they. Oh God, how can I put? Rich is not even is not
It's
even
opulence.
opulent. There you go.
Yeah.
Look it up, people.
There
I'm
it
not.
is. It's been
okay,
a while
you
since
Uh,
Kelechi gave
Casey,
us a
A
multi-syllable
word of the day.
The
That
more
wasn't
you
his
know,
last
people.
name.
I do tend to be rather grandiloquent, if I do say so myself.
Wow.
I am rather loquacious.
You know what? You know what they just did? I'm looking up opulent right now, which means ostentatiously rich and luxurious or lavish, wealthy, in other words. It's one of the richest places on the planet. Okay, let's just
Very
put it
good.
there. Go for it.
I have so many objections with this location. So you guys were talking about all this Mortal Kombat, end of days fighting on the beach. You
It is
can't fight on the beach at 120 degrees
You want to
Nobody.
bet? You want to
with
bet?
with a dust storm swirling around you. You want to be on the beach. Come
Okay,
on
so
now,
let's
fam.
talk about this now. Yes, it will be on the beach. If it's
Did he confirm that?
Yes, he did. Actually, he confirmed that on when he announced it. It is the fight's going to be on the beach. Okay, if you look at the Abu Dhabi where they do the when they do the ADCC, the Abu Dhabi Combat Club, when they do that competition, it is open. It is an open stadium where they actually do the grappling. When they've been to Abu Dhabi before, they have did that in an open stadium. So yes, it's going to be on the beach. And what they showed about the island and where it could possibly be at, it is in the corner right on the beach side. So yes, that octagon is going down on the beach. I'm
Yeah.
just looking for the throne with Dana White with the Shao Kahn helmet saying, finish him. I want that. That's all I need.
I can't tell with the setup that I have on my camera right now which direction to point. I'm assuming this is Ryan.
No, you got to point to your right. Point to your right.
Yeah.
This is Ryan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's me.
Play my music.
I don't know which music I'm playing.
I'm stealing Jordan.
Okay, there you go.
Yes.
Look, I was like,
Give
let
him
me
the
open up my
link.
Spotify. I'll find it for you.
I hate you so much.
I don't,
Jordan just straight clowning me.
I'm sorry. I played the wrong music. This is your music.
I hate you. I want a new show. I demand a new show. We're starting over.
Well, you
3,
hate it here?
2,
No.
1.
Okay,
I
here
hate
you
it
go.
here.
Here you go. Here you go. This is you.
I'm sick of this church.
Here you go. I got you.
All right. So while jokingly I made fun of the fact that this could take place on the Epstein Island, interesting that given Bolton's latest book, that it's taking place in UAE and those ties that Trump has to the United Emirates. Very interesting.
So you're saying that Dana said, "Hey Trump, what's happening?" He's like, "Everything's doing really good." He's like, "Hey,
It's going to
I
be
need a-
huge.
I need a place to fight at." He's like, "I got a place for you. It's really huge. It's bigly, and it's gonna be fantastic,
Oh my
and it'll be
gosh. We're
the
gonna
greatest fight on the
We're gonna
planet."
lose so many listeners tonight.
But none of this isn't anti-Trump in saying that.
No,
It's just he's got connections.
Yeah,
He's
well-
like, okay, so wait, hold on, let's do it like this. Dan's like, yo, Don, man, I need a place to go. And Don's like, yo, dog, I got you. Hold on, stay on the line. And he's like, hey, yo, Prince, what you doing, dog? And he's like, yo, man, I'm over here, pimping my
What
ride,
version
anything
of
like
Trump
that.
is this?
And he's like, yo, dog, I got a fight to go down, man.
Randy
Chappelle
Jackson
version.
That's
like-
a no for me, dog.
Well, can you help a brother out? Okay. He's like, you know what, man? After the gold plated bathtubs I gave you last time, I got you, fam. Just give me DJ Khaled and we make it good. All right. And he did that. And now,
And there's a random Shikogi.
Bow down and
reference in
kneel
there.
to greatness. Another
Anywho, all
one.
right, so we've tangented far enough down this road, but Fight Island is happening.
We're done with this rabbit hole, by
Yes,
the way.
yes. Okay, so Fight Island is happening. They have announced 4 cards. Then these
Woo.
4 cards from July 11th through July 25th. So 14 days, you got 4 cards.
Okay. So let's look at let's all kidding aside, let's understand why he did that. They're still hurting for money.
Mhm.
Okay. And Abu Dhabi is the place to make that cheddar. Okay. I would garner. I've yet to see how much the ticket prices are.
No.
Oh no, they're still under quarantine.
Yeah, they're
They
under
can't-
quarantine.
that's
Yeah,
right.
This is
no
all,
upside
this
to
is
it.
all
Yeah.
about the fact that they have to hit, 29 shows in 2020.
Yeah.
And so-
how many shows are we at now?
I think we're at like 13 or 14. Like we are really low. And so the UFC is facing losing $100 million if they don't get all these shows done. And so they're putting 4 fights because the reason why they chose Abu Dhabi is because it's an international city. Are you all right, Casey? Do we need to
Yeah, I
call
don't know what that
911?
was. I'm in my modified studio setup, and I'm like,
Hold on, dog. Okay, I've seen too many paranormal activities to know how this is going down, dog. Okay, you
hey, at
know,
that point, Jesus take the wheel because I can't do anything. Like, I'm good.
All
I
if
right.
don't
I
play
see
with
you
ghosts.
flying, dog, hey, I got you, man. I got some sage over here, and I got some salt, and we'll make something happen.
Yeah, I think we can find a chicken for you.
I support it.
Um, so the so they have to do these fights, and the UAE is an international city, and the problem that Dana White's having with the United States is that he can't get international fighters into the United States. We've locked our borders largely to international travel, and so if you're coming from somewhere in Asia, you're just not going to get in. You're only going to get in if you're from one of the Western countries, Western European countries, to get in.
What was
And
that
so,
look for?
because and so
I'm slow.
you needed an international place where you can get fighters from all over the world into the octagon. So that's why they chose that place. I think it was a bit misleading because it was like, well, no one's going to know where it is. They're going to have to be, we're going to conceal the location. And then now it's like, well, it's white. It's right in the middle of what's happening. It's not a Freudian slip.
So, this is not the first time that the UFC has fought on Yas Island, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh. They fought there before, previously.
They fought there during every time they've been to Abu Dhabi. That's where they fought on Yas Island.
So
Okay,
then
because that's where they.
this isn't fancy then. Like if they
Well,
if when they fought in Abu Dhabi, they fought on Yas Island, then they already had the infrastructure. Why did it take so long? They should have just done that first.
No, I
Because
think
go
they
ahead,
are actually going to fight on the beach on this one, though. I think previously
Yeah.
it was in the stadium with fans and things like that. This is different from what I understand.
Yeah, because they have bubbled off a section to make it basically self-sufficient, and so once the fighters go in, that's it. They are
never
staying
go
in.
out.
Exactly. So what? 10 fighters are coming in. Only 5 are coming out. That's what I'm saying.
Here we go again.
All right, you gonna say something, Kalechi, before we move on?
It's not important. Let's move to the next topic.
Well, last thing on this, 4 fights. You got UFC 251, which I'm super excited about. Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Burns headlining that. You've also got Alexander Volkanovski versus Max Holloway 2. I'm excited about it because it's a fight. It's a championship fight. I'm less excited about it because why the immediate rematch? I don't know. And then you've got Peter Yan versus Jose Aldo. I'm excited about it because it's a fight. I'm less excited about it because why is Jose Aldo fighting for a title? You've also got Rose Thug No Hair Namajunas coming back, so that's going to be a great card. UFC 251. I can't wait till we're picking those fights. You've also got July 15th, Calvin Kattar versus Dan Ige. That's going to be a barn burner. Frankie Edgar's going to be fighting Pedro Munhoz in that one. You've also got the Cookie Monster coming back, Carla Esparza. Then, 3 days later, you've got Figueiredo versus Benavidez 2. So remember, Davidson Figueiredo missed his weight for the championship weight. So he won the fight. Remember, there was a headbutt. Joseph Benavidez was kind of stunned, and then Figueiredo finished him. They're getting an immediate rematch. They're going to do this again for the vacant flyweight title. You've got Jack Hermanson fighting, Kelvin Gastelum fighting, Mark Duplessis. That's going to be a great card. And then, a week later, you've got Robert Whittaker versus Darren Till. That's going to be a great fight. You got Shogun Rua versus Lil Nog. You got Alex Oliveira versus Peter Sabata. Fabricio Verdum is fighting Alexander Gustafsson. It's going to be great cards. So they
Yeah,
have
yeah.
done a great job in getting these fights put together in the course of 2 weeks, 4 fights, all of them strong matchups. So keep a lookout. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about in the upcoming weeks. Anything else, guys, before we go on?
How was your verdict picks over the weekend?
Ooh.
I didn't
Because
make
mine
We'll
was,
get into.
yeah, I was gonna say I was batting 1,000 this weekend. Okay, well, I'm batting 90% because there was a couple I didn't get the rounds right, but every one of my picks turned out, pretty much.
All right. Well, then let's get into the official decision. This is the official decision. This is where we look at the results from Saturday night. And we had UFC Fight Night, Blaydes versus Volkov, Saturday, June 20th, 2020, 6/20/2020, at the UFC Apex Center in Las Vegas, Nevada. And we had a lot of great fights on that card. Tisha Torres versus Brianna Van Buren. Tisha Torres won by unanimous decision. Bobby Green defeated Clay Guida via unanimous decision. Now, you guys were talking about this. I wasn't able to watch some of the undercard fights, but you guys were feeling bad for Clay Guida. What's up with that?
Bobby Green looked really, really good. I think for this fight he fought mostly out of the southpaw stance, and he was just getting the best of the exchanges. He got taken down a couple of times, but was still able to pop back up just super quick. I mean, he was dominant through and through. It was a real good look for Green.
Yeah, it was an anger beating there. I mean, there was some ill intent going on in that fight, and Bobby Green, he was waylaying. All right.
So Jim Miller defeated Roosevelt Roberts via armbar submission in round 1. There was a lot of trash talk by Roosevelt Roberts saying, I don't mind if he goes on the ground. I got good game. Fight went to the ground. Didn't take long before the armbar was popping.
Yeah.
Like, I swear I heard his arm popping when he was yelling out, I tap, I tap, I tap.
Yeah. Seriously. I mean, there's 2 fighters in the UFC that I don't care what the odds are. If it goes to the ground, they win. And that's Joe Lozon and that's Jim Miller. Okay.
I thought you were going to say Damian Maya.
Well, he is the most dangerous fighter.
Yeah.
Gilbert Burns took his crown.
Yeah, I know. But no, these 2, when they get on the ground, they're going to get a win. They're going to get a win. I've seen it too many times from those 2. So, yeah, when it went to the ground, I was like, well, that's the end of this fight, and moved on.
Yeah. Lyman Good versus Bilal Muhammad. Bilal Muhammad won via unanimous decision. This was a great fight. I actually like Bilal Muhammad a lot. Lyman Good stood in the pocket and just, it was back and forth. And I think it could have been the fight of the night had it not been for the co-main event.
Yes. It was a good rock'em sock'em. It really was. I had no beef with this one.
Yeah, he got really bloodied. Bilal Muhammad got really bloodied in the 3rd round, but he finished it by taking Lyman Good's back, had him in a body triangle, and was working for the rear naked choke when the bell rung. So I felt like it was a good decision. George, what do you think?
I didn't get to see this one, man, but what I am interested in knowing, so Lyman Good tested positive for coronavirus about a month ago, if I'm not mistaken. He was supposed to be on a fight card. And, after that, we never heard anything in reference to it. But I wonder how the UFC, I guess, placated the fears that everyone has, because here we are, we've had this man come on, and we know he was positive for coronavirus. And so I'm sure when he was doing the test, the antibodies were showing up. How did they, what process did they use to say, okay, he's good to fight?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the UFC has kept their procedures pretty under lock and key. But if you know that he's had it and he's recovered, he doesn't currently have the have COVID-19, then he's good to fight. He tested negative.
There's a new test that the UFC uses for most things. It's called the Benjamin's test. So they just see who's willing to fight for money.
Very good. You got me. I was like, ooh, a new test.
I was about to start googling Benjamin.
I was like, wait a minute. What? They was like, I saw what he did. I saw.
The key was I thought about it early and I had to straight face this like the whole time. Like,
Yeah, that's good.
You had me, bro. You had me.
That's good delivery.
So yeah, so I'm not the only one who thought it was perhaps fight of the night.
yeah.
Arjan Carlos Moreno, he's watching us tonight. Hi there, Coach.
Coach.
He said that fight, that was for him. That was fight of the night as well. So you know, I really enjoyed that fight, especially when Bilal Muhammad was in trouble. He was in big trouble, and he found a way to dig himself out of that one. Raquel Pennington defeated Marion Renault via unanimous decision. She basically just ran through Marion Renault. I don't know why. Like, I got to find somebody that I don't like. You know, it used to be Angela Hill till Angela learned how to fight, and now I'm like on the Hill train. But so Marion Renault, why are you using up a UFC spot? It was your birthday.
Whoa.
It was your birthday, and you took 43 licks from Rochelle Pennington.
Wow.
She hit her at least 43 times, many to grow on. It was all kinds of birthday beatings in there.
You know, that fight right there, I was kind of like, this is a mismatch. Okay,
It was.
Because it was like as soon as she got punched, that was the end of the fight. It was just like it was all down. She couldn't develop a game plan. I was like, please develop a game plan, please.
Do something, please.
So just thinking through this, how good is Raquel Pennington?
Oh,
she's not bad. I mean, she fought for the title against Amanda Nunes.
But no time soon is that going to happen again.
And went all 5 rounds.
And someone should have stopped that fight.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Like,
I think somebody was trying
exactly
to stop that fight, and they were like, "Nah, you're keep going. You're gonna keep."
That's
going.
like Anthony Smith going as long as he did. Like, that's not necessarily a good thing.
Yeah.
We're not visiting this topic again. Okay, we're not
we
doing
will.
this.
But Raquel Pennington is, she's
game, but she's not
game.
top tier talent right now.
She's what, 8?
Well, no, see, the problem we run into is Amanda Nunes and Valentina are just so many light years ahead of the rest of their division. It's not that Rocky isn't a top tier talent. It's not that she doesn't deserve to be a number 1 contender or anything like that. It's just that the champion is just so far ahead of the rest of the crew. It reminds me of back in the day when John Jones went through this with his division.
Right.
Yeah.
We're just now seeing the light heavyweight division catch up to John Jones' skill level, or we've seen John Jones decline in his prowess, and now the rest of the division can catch up. And I think the same thing is happening in the women's division. Amanda Nunes was just light years ahead of everybody else. She smoked everybody else, and it's going to take a while for that division to catch up.
Yeah,
agree. I like that, Coach.
I just don't know that Marion Renault has much more of a career left in the UFC. I
need y'all to quit hating on old people.
Oh,
I had a birthday last week. You get it. I need y'all to quit cracking these jokes about age.
You want some of this, old man?
Yeah, you want some of this, old man?
Yeah, he's like, yes, please.
So I don't end up in a whole nother Anthony Smith situation where I see him in the gym. So Raquel and Tisha Torres are like literally down the road. So I'd like to take this moment and say, y'all are incredibly talented. I love that this took place in June. I love that both of y'all are on the same card. I'm here for it. Get it. Yas, queen.
All right, in the co-main event of the evening, Josh Emmett defeated Shane Burgos via unanimous decision. This was the fight of the night. In the first minute of the fight, Josh Emmett blows out his knee. Dude is game for 3 more rounds.
yes.
Throwing bombs, catching kicks to the knee, not even checking half of them.
Couldn't.
It's not uncommon for fighters to tear an ACL in a fight, But what I can tell you from my experience, I've torn my left ACL twice. The first time I tore it, literally I went into shock. There's no way I could have continued in whatever sport I was engaging in. I tore it playing basketball, but I can't imagine having done that in a fight. Yeah, your adrenaline's kicked up and some things are going on, but literally your body will communicate to you and say, you know what? No, we're shutting this down. Second time I tore my ACL, similar circumstance. I was out playing basketball and body went into shock. I immediately vomited. So I can't imagine tearing my ACL in a fight and having to continue not 1, not 2, but 3 rounds.
And getting it kicked.
Yeah.
I got a lot of quit in me.
You know,
at my age, I do too, man.
We've
a
seen
lot of
so
quitting.
many fighters fight through stuff. Like I remember when it was Korean Zombie, right? He was fighting Jose Aldo. His arm was broken, and he's still blocking. And I'm like, no. At that point, the moment I heard crack, I'm like, I'm out.
Especially if my pay has already been decided. I got paid for this already. Get me, ref. Done. Come get me.
So for those of you who are new to the show, that is why, even though we are critical, you just heard me be critical to Marion Renault.
Yeah.
We believe in the adage of, the man in
The man in the...
Because at the end of the day, we can sit here. It's our job to comment and talk about what's going on in the sport. But at the end of the day, it's about the person who's actually doing the fighting in the ring, and we have tremendous respect for them. So you can see we're not. I'm only speaking for myself here. I'm not in the ring, and the pain and the anguish that these fighters go to just for the right to get in the ring is much more than I am willing to pay. So even though I can be critical, I do have tremendous respect for everybody who steps into the ring. And why is Kelechi making a face?
Because you have an opportunity to step into this ring anytime, old man. Anytime.
Listen.
Look,
it's nice you got those 22s, but over here, right there, it's a little bit bigger.
Yeah, that's called fat.
It is, but it's bigger.
Subcutaneous fat.
It is.
I'm
not saying
the belt.
I didn't say it was more muscle. I said my arms.
Don't make me
bigger.
grab the belt. Like
I want to see it.
Father's Day just happened. Don't make me grab the belt.
I want to see the belt.
Oh my God. Yeah.
All right. So it was a great fight. Became fight of the night. These guys are standing in the middle of the ring. Emmett finally gets the best of Shane Burgos in the third round. He gets like 2 knockdowns. Burgos is bloody, and he's still just standing there. Kelechi's actually going to go and get the belt. Like, that is sad. He's already taken off his headphones. He's going to get the belt. It's sad. Listen.
Hey.
Yeah, it was a good fight. It was a great fight, and anybody that thought that Josh Emmett was going to quit, that was foolish on y'all. I'm not gonna lie, that was kind of foolish because Josh has time and again has been, they downplayed Josh. They said, oh, he doesn't have it in him, and he comes out there, he doubles up on people. So y'all believe in Josh Emmett. He wants to be a champ again. Before he injured himself, he was on the path to being a champ. All right, he's gonna be a champ before it's all said and done.
Mm-hmm. So.
You gotta hold on, Casey. You got a little glare on your shoulder there.
Oh, let me adjust the camera real quick.
Yeah, adjust that camera right.
So
okay,
let me tell you something, George. This is something that Casey doesn't realize is the fact that I am the one who controls the camera that the audience sees. So therefore, the audience is only seeing 3 people on the screen right now. Casey is not even on the screen right now. So you can put that belt all on your face all you want. Ain't nobody seeing it.
It's just so bright like
Ryan,
my
I thought you were going
right
to say, I have this thing called the passport, and I thought you were going to pull out your passport and like flash it into the camera to show your wins.
Let him pull out the passport because I'll pull out my trophy.
Yeah, but this one, the fact that Casey is not on camera right now He
All right,
can
you're right,
put the
Look,
belt as much as he wants.
I'm putting it away. I'm putting it away.
Yeah, okay, all right. Once I see you put it away, then you're good. I'll put you back on camera. But just remember,
Look,
it's a button
y'all don't
click
need
and
to
you're
see my
gone.
face.
That,
Are you trying to erase history right now?
That's right.
ladies and gentlemen, if you think that somebody's being petty on here, go ahead and let it down in the comments below.
Yeah,
All
who's
right,
the
we
petty
want to
one? This guy.
You can call
right
me the
there.
heartbreaker. I'm Tom Petty over
Yeah,
here.
look at that. You just got off the screen again. I'm sorry, Casey. All right, and the main event of the evening for George Stallworth and John Keys is the I lost the run sheet. Curtis Blaydes defeated Alexander Volkov via unanimous decision. People were mad. They were big mad.
Why?
Bro, Blaydes told him exactly how it was going to go down. He did exactly what he planned, and I thought it was entertaining.
I thought
he didn't
it
advance much, but
Okay, so he sat there earlier that week and was talking like he's gonna ragdoll his opponent, stem to stern. Don't expect it to be a 5-round fight. Okay, everybody's gonna talk trash. Okay, let's get it out there. Everybody talks trash, and for the first 3 rounds, he kind of did that. Okay, let's put it out there. He kind of did that. The last 2 rounds, he gassed out. But people, if anything,
Say it again, John.
he gassed out.
He got out big time. Yeah.
But
How does a wrestler gas out?
man, that's because he was trying to put everything in it and then some. But let's just I'm not but that's it. But did he gas out or did Volkanovski just gave him what he what he didn't think was coming, which was a good defense, I think. Okay.
Well,
He weathered the storm.
In round 4, Volkanovski got the best of him. Curtis Blaydes was bleeding all through the mouth.
yeah.
He took a lot of damage in the 4th round. I think that's where he emptied out his tank there, and then the 5th round was just survival. Like he was just like, I just got to get through 5 minutes and I win.
I think his wrestling was really active for through the first 3 rounds. Like he was trying to put him away for sure with wrestling.
Right.
I was actually surprised that Volkov, the other dude, Volkov. There we go. I was surprised at how well he carried Blaydes' weight the whole time because, like, if you look at the positions they were in, it was really all about having Volkov carry that weight and try to find his escapes. He's on the defense for 3 straight rounds, and you can't backpedal and fight your way out of that and not be tired. But that difference maker was round 4. Like that was, it looked like Blaydes had nothing left when he sat down on his stool after that. And his corner's saying, "You got 5 minutes. Just give us 5 minutes." Like it could have easily turned the other way. But a big credit to Blaydes for getting stuff that first takedown he tried in round 5 and sticking with it to keep going, because had they stood up on his feet, he was done.
Yeah.
Yep. That's right. But I still think that Blaydes, even through the first 3.5 rounds, he wasn't just wrestling. I mean, he caught Volkov with some big shots too. He was landing some strikes. And so when I'm listening to, Dana White just kind of be like, well, when you talk all that smack and then you put in that kind of work, you look stupid. It's like, I thought Curtis Blaydes fought a great fight, not the prettiest thing. It wasn't a pretty fight, but it was a grinder. It was the kind of fight that you do when you are fighting a superior kickboxer. What do? You take him down.
I didn't even think of it as like a smart fight, like Usman versus dang near everyone, where you're just kind of circling around and trying to stay away from the heavy attack, right? Like Blaydes was still game for every aspect of it. He just played to his own strength rather than his opponent's, which is fighting. Like I don't understand what Dana White needed to see that didn't happen. So even at the start of the fight, you had the announcers talking about Volkov needs to take a wider stance to defend the takedowns. Volkov tries that. Blaydes takes away that attack. Seconds later, Volkov is back to his normal stance and on the ground. Like, as a tactician of fighting, like Dana White, you've seen so many fights Like, this just goes back to the fact that the heavyweight division is doing exactly what it should, and that is providing excitement, and you don't know how to handle it. So instead of promoting your fighters, you choose to denigrate them. Like, this is just poor management. Like,
Yes. I mean, you said you want fighters to be fighters, to experience fight. That was a real fight. That was
Yep.
that was a strong fight. It doesn't get much more passion than that right there. When you have him going for 3 rounds, doing everything he can to try and put him away, and then I can't do it anymore. So now I gotta struggle and survive and push further, deeper into who I am. That fight leveled him up, if anything.
I
It
agree.
really leveled him up because he went deep into the deep end of the pool, and he still came out alive, and you still put him down. You called him stupid. Okay. I'm like, that fight, if anything, I call him fighter. All right. And Curtis Blaydes will always have my respect for that.
Coach, what about you? What'd you see in that?
I thought it was a great fight as well. I was really impressed the fact that they did go 5 rounds. I thought Volkov definitely was getting the better of him in the stand-up, but Curtis did show us that he does have some stand-up abilities. I would have liked to see more of that, and I did like the fact that Curtis switched it up. He thought he was going to take him down. No, I'm going to strike with you. Now that I'm striking with you, you're going back to the mat. He mixed it up perfectly. One of the things I heard Curtis talk about in the post-fight interview, though, was something in reference to who else is left for me to fight. He was saying it. If I'm not in the top 5 tier, if I'm not the one next up getting this fight after Stipe and Daniel Cormier, who else do you want me to fight? It was in reference to something Dana said about maybe he needs another fight or two in order to move up. And Curtis was adamant. He's like, I've fought down all this time. I'm not fighting down anymore. I'm only fighting people who are putting me next in line for a title shot.
So that means, are you saying that he needs to fight Ngannou at this point?
But he's already fought Ngannou.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the reason why that Dana possibly is talking him down, because he has a legitimate claim to the winner of Stipe versus Cormier, and Dana already has plans for the winner to face Ngannou.
I agree, and even up there's still a couple of other fights there that he's already had. I think him and Derek Black Beast Lewis have already fought. Derek's in that title fight contention.
Yeah.
Who else is up there in that one? And there was somebody else at heavyweight who recently fought.
Well, you got Rosenstruck as well.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
but he's coming off of a loss.
Yeah.
I'm talking about somebody's coming up off of a win. I know.
Let's see.
I can't remember who the next one is, but it's a shaky picture in the heavyweight division in terms of what's going to happen, and a lot of this is thrown into turmoil because of the Stipe and Daniel Cormier trilogy.
So according to this site, I'm on SureDog. Derek Lewis has not fought Curtis Blaydes, so that is a fight that he could have.
What's the rankings on the two of those?
Well, I can't see on SureDog.
Curtis, actually,
to
that
follow
can't
him?
happen.
Yeah.
That can't happen because according to the UFC rankings, Curtis Blaydes is number 3. Derek Lewis is number 4. That can't happen.
Well, why?
Just to get it out the way. If he's fought, if this is the only guy that he hasn't fought yet, then there is a legitimate claim there.
Yeah,
There's a legit claim.
Yeah, I agree with you. Is Curtis Blaydes needs to fight for a title, because when you look at it, he just beat number 7. He doesn't want to fight. If he doesn't want to fight down, he's the only person he has ahead of him is Daniel Cormier, who's got 1 fight left. He's going to retire after Stipe, so he's out. The next person is Francis Ngannou, who already has a win over Curtis Blaydes and is the heir apparent, based upon his fight with Rosenstruck, that he is going to fight for the title next, and potentially a rematch against Stipe. Curtis Blaydes is number 3.
So yeah,
You make an interim fight because something's going to happen with Stipe and he's not going to be ready. So you have an interim fight between Ngannou and Blaydes for the championship, and then you have a unifier to end out what's his name's career.
So that would be cool, except they've already started lining up Francis Ngannou to be the backup for Stipe and Daniel Cormier. So if one of them falls out, then it's gonna be Francis Ngannou fighting
Somebody.
So and you know, the UFC has kind of rallied around Francis Ngannou at this point. They want him. They want to put him in that title shot. So they're gonna do whatever they can to get him. You know, because everybody wants to see him. I think
Prediction
probably
he's gonna lose.
I think the logical fight for Curtis Blaydes is Derek Lewis. You fight number 4, and the winner gets a title shot.
There you go.
Wait, a winner gets the title shot.
Yes, because you've got Stipe Miocic and you've got Daniel Cormier going to fight. We already know that Francis Ngannou is going to get the next fight. After that, you're going to need another fight, and that's going to be the winner of Derek Lewis and Curtis Blaydes.
And the loser of that fight takes on Stipe. Oh, I'm sorry. The slip.
So, yeah. I mean, but
I get you.
Yeah. Curtis Blaydes needs at least one more fight because of the way the backlog of fights in heavyweight requires him to either sit on his hands until it all clears out, or fight one more fight and stay relevant and stay active. Otherwise, you could get someone like Rosenstruck knocking out someone below him, and now everyone wants to see him in the title shot. Or, you know, even, I mean, Alistair Overeem's trying to make another run. So you never know. All right, that's it. We're going to close the book on this one, put it on the shelf, because this card is history. Now we're going to talk about the headlines making waves in the UFC world after the events on Saturday night. This is Finding the Angles. Oh, this is Finding the Angles. This is where we talk about the headlines that are making waves in the UFC world. I went ahead because we already covered Emmett's knee. Curtis Blaydes, he's kind of signing up to be the heel. We could talk about that at a later date. I want to talk about Mad Max going beyond Thunderdome, because this is kind of the big thing that everyone's talking about after Saturday. There is a fighter. His name is Max Roskopf. He was a late fight replacement, and he gets into a fight, and he is fighting. Round 1, potentially he won. Round 2 wasn't going very well. Between round 2 and round 3, he tells his coach, he says, "Coach, I'm done. I'm done." And the coach is like, no, man, you can do it. You got one more round, just 5 more minutes. Just go back in there. "No, coach, I'm done." He said it, I think, 9 times in 1 minute. "Coach, I'm done." And the coach was getting ready to send him back out there. And basically the ref comes up because he's not getting off the stool. Ref comes up, it's like, "Okay, you got to get out of here." And the fighter is like, "I'm done." And he goes, "Is he done?" And then the coach is like, "He says he's done." And they call the fight.
I love it. The only thing I don't love about it is checking with the coach after the fighter has already said that he's done.
So that's the thing, right? That's one of the points that's in dispute, because according to the coach says that he is the one who called the fight stopped. Other people who have seen the video, which has been disputed by the coach, says that the fighter said that he wanted to stop the fight. So the thing is that the fighter had to say 9 times, "I'm done."
Hey, I'm a big fan of verbal consent here, and if your fighter is not consenting to fight, there's nothing beyond that. Like, I think there's a difference in how he said "I'm done" versus Colby Covington saying, "I think you broke my jaw. I think my jaw's broken." Like, there's a fighter expressing concern, but willing to go out. That's a whole different thing than when a fighter is actually telling you, "I'm done." That's not a, "Oh, my back hurts," or, "Oh, I have an injury. Talk me through this," and like I can keep going. "I'm done" is "I'm done."
Yeah.
And I don't see how you can see it any other way. You're putting your fighter's health at risk. If they tell you they have nothing left to give and you're like, you have 5 minutes, just don't die. Like, what are you going to do in those 5 minutes if your fighter has already quit on the stool?
Well, as a coach, my first question is, was this his actual coach or was this just a corner man? Is this someone who has worked with this guy day in and day out and knows his habits, understands his limits and can push him and motivate him? Or is this someone who, hey, I need a corner man, step up and cover me because I can't get coach in, that kind of thing?
Yeah. As far as we know, this was his coach. This is Robert Drysdale. And basically, this was a late fight replacement. Robert Drysdale is his coach. And Robert Drysdale says that he wasn't seriously hurt. I know he wasn't in harm's way. He was just frustrated. I was trying to give him a push so that he could overcome his frustration. I still believe he could have won that fight. I felt he won the first round. I don't see how he lost the first round, but he lost the second round. And so it's one of those things where the coach is like, you can do this. Don't give up. That kind of thing. That's how he's positioning it.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, this was a late fight replacement, so he doesn't have the cardio. He's potentially gassed out. He had a bad second round, and he just doesn't have anymore. So whether it's a corner man, whether it's his actual coach, somebody has to be the adult in the room to say, this guy isn't in a mental state to be able to go out there. This guy may not be in a physical state to go out there. I can't send him back out there in good faith.
Now, I'm usually the one that says to the death. So, but there comes a point. There comes a point. All right.
Consensually to the death.
Yes. If you and your corner sit there and agree, I'm going to the death, that's one thing. But when you're in combat, a fighter, there's two fights that a fighter fights. That's on the physical and that's on the mental. All right. The easiest way to win any combat is to break somebody morale. If you break the enemy's morale, you've won that fight. It don't matter what they got. And that looks like what happened is that in the second round that he got the morale beat out of him. And there was no coming back for him. So at that point, it's over. The guy was literally sitting on the stool saying, I'm done. That's it. If the fighter,
this is supposed to
me.
Go ahead, Kyle.
It echoes Anthony Smith a lot to me, and just like the conversations you're supposed to be able to have with your corner, and trusting that they have your best interest in heart. So, as much as I vehemently disagree with Anthony Smith's notion of like, I'm choosing to literally put my life on the line and die. If a fighter says no, then as much as in the broader society we're saying that no means no, I can't get past a consent notion here of, if I'm telling you no, it means no. I can't keep going, no matter what the reason is. If I don't want to keep going, if I can't keep going, I've got to be able to trust that you're not going to put me in more harm's way. Exactly. And I know this, like, I believe this deep in my bones because I'm huge on consent. And I remember a time where we were playing in Missouri. I was playing football. We were playing a home game, and it got down to like 0 degrees. And I'm from Texas, so I don't play in the cold like that. I'd already had over 100 yards rushing. So what am I doing? Like, we're winning this game. Why is the coach putting me back out here? Coach sends me back in. I was like, no, I'm good. He's like, no, get out there. I was like, no, I'm good. And I went straight to the locker room. Like I know myself, and I have to trust the people around me that you've got to know that there's a reason I'm not going back in there. So maybe I'm just different as an athlete, and where like I'm going to challenge my coach, but there's no way on God's green earth, like if I'm done, I'm done. There's no, I saved something in the tank and you're going to give me a speech that pulls it out. Like, I've given it on the field. Like, there's nothing left. And I got to believe that if you've got a fighter at the top talent, he's not saving something on the stool. He's given everything he's got.
But I think that's the point, right? Is This is his. He has been fighting, presumably in regional promotions against lesser talent. He is a late fight replacement in his UFC debut.
Yeah.
He goes out there, and perhaps in the first round, he had, the whole adrenaline dump.
Yeah.
Second round, he's fighting for his life, and he's like, "Oh my God, I didn't realize this talent was this good."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was he? I didn't get to see this fight. Was he really getting punished in that second round?
I also
He
only
was
got to see
getting
the
shut
outcome.
down.
So
Yeah.
basically,
So what?
he started the opponent started landing some big shots and was taking control at the end of the second round. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, he was basically being shut down. That's what happened in the second round. Every type of offense that he tried to pull, it just wasn't working for him, and there was a bit of frustration that was going on. But I think it does have to deal with that whole late replacement. If you don't, because it's one thing about getting your body in shape. You got to get your mind in shape too. That you're going in here and you're possibly going up against the best fight of your life. Okay.
Ryan's seen me do this, actually. You saw me in my first fight out, right? That big adrenaline dump. Like, you go all in, you got the stadium lights there, and it's like you can't help but feel the crowd. And so, like, I'm looking real good first round. Get off that stool second round, like, I don't have it. Like, it is just not there. You can't. There was nothing like, there wasn't like Ryan yelling at me from the corner, like, no, go at him. Like, I looked back at Ryan in the middle of a fight. I was like, I can't move.
I have to say, yeah. I mean but that's what it was, and eventually, our corner, because there was a professional corner man in each corner, and so our corner man threw in the towel, because there was concern, right? Like Kalechi wasn't taking a lot of damage, but because he had gassed out, he didn't have his hands up, and so the guy was doing a little bit, throwing a lot of punches, and so in order to keep everyone safe, we ended the fight.
Mm-hmm.
Which
I think that's how it should happen.
That's how it should happen.
Yeah.
But you did look great in that first round.
That's the only one I want to show people. Like, my debut was dope for the first round.
Yes. So here's some other perspectives on this topic. So the coach was like, he wasn't hurt. He was only frustrated. I was trying to talk him back into this fight. The opponent, his name was Austin Hubbard. He was like, listen, I was coming out in the third round to finish him. I knew that I had him. I had landed some strikes. I knew it was only a matter of time before I was going to win this fight. So I won it either with him, submitting and tapping out, between rounds, or I was going to win it in the third round anyway. The coach came back and said that, of course, Volkov is upset that he quit. Dan Hooker made fun of him and said, "How do you get in the UFC without realizing that you're made of marshmallows?"
Oh.
Which I think is harsh. I think fighters should rally around each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially if they're not fighting each other. Like, this is a new guy to the UFC. Come on, have some compassion. Dana White, surprisingly, even though he was talking smack to Curtis Blaydes, defended Max Volkov, saying there's no shame in quitting. He's like,
that's not his original statement. Okay, that was not his original statement. He was hard on him so bad, it was making me mad. Okay, believe me, he told him that he will never get a chance. This was, he was talking about how his manager had been bugging Silverman all week.
I did hear about that.
And saying that he was the future of the UFC, and this guy, he had his chance, and he'll never, he gave up his chance. He'll never get another chance.
That feels more on brand.
I was surprised. That's why it's on the run sheet. Because I'm like, Dana White, in surprising news, back to Volkov.
He was livid at the post fight scrum. So yeah, this is a few days later. I've calmed down about it and everything like that. But it's also something that this just goes to Dana White, and it's something that he said, and it made a lot of sense to me. He said that fighters this is not a career in the UFC. This is an opportunity. And that mentality right there makes a lot of sense on why he does what he does. Because to these fighters, this is their career. This is how they think. And if you're thinking that this is not a career, this is just an opportunity for you to go do something else, that's not the mentality you have. No wonder you're having, strife between you and the fighters. You haven't sat there. You're not in their shoes. You could say that you've been there, done that, but you really need to sit in their shoes and do what they're doing and understand why they have. Now I am 100% in, for a fighters union now, because he needs that. He needs that. Okay, he needs to understand what a fighter's going through. Until he's done the 8 weeks, the training, the sweat and tears, only to be told, guess what? You've been kicked off the card. You got to wait a few more months down the road before we get another one. He needs to understand that. So yeah, there needs to be a fighters union now.
Sure.
Because you
If it
can't
helps, there's at least one lawyer who's listening right now, so I'd like to just kick it off to her now that we have consent here. We just need to get the fighters in.
Yeah. But yeah, absolutely. They need a fighter union, because we need people to understand what the fighters are going through in order for them to have a proper president that understands what his employees are really doing. There I go.
George, I want to give you the last word. You're our coach on the show. You got a fighter who says, "I'm done." Great opportunity.
So, as a coach, part of what I have to do is motivate people to do things that they think they can't do, shouldn't do, don't want to do, or even things that they don't think are possible. But with that, I also am charged with the safety of my fighters. Mm-hmm. And that's why I went back to, hey, was this a coach or was this just one of his corner men? And because that does make a difference. Also in this, I understand this was this guy's debut. I'm assuming maybe this was also this coach's debut, being, in the UFC, being his fighter or whatever. So I think maybe the lights got to both of them. It sounds like this coach probably made a bad call to some degree, or maybe he was just stalling for time or trying to give his fighter enough time to change his mind and say, you know what, I can't go back out here. I don't know. I really didn't get to see this fight, so I'm speaking out of ignorance right now. But as a coach, I want my fighters to believe that I've got their best interest at heart, and that I'm pushing them in the right direction and leading them in the right way. And if I've got a kid who's told me multiple times sitting on the stool, hey, I can't go back out, I'm going to let the clock run out, and then I'm going to let him know, hey, we're done here. I'm going to, while he's doing that minute break, I'm going to give him every opportunity to change his mind. Don't get me wrong. But once that time is up and the referee is over it, hey, like, what's up? Let's go. No, my guy's done.
Last thing on this one before we move on. Apparently, the Nevada State Athletic Commission is looking into it because of the fact that, he did not, execute on his fighters' wishes. That they're gonna look at that, and so basically, because Volkov didn't want to come out and fight, and the coach was still trying to get him to do so. This is something that could result in disciplinary action for Robert Drysdale. So more to come on that, in the future. So when we talk about fighters who, like Volkov, who were like, I'm done, there's a lot of fighters who are saying they're done. So I'm calling this the gambler who knows when to fold them and when to walk away. Dana White says Anthony Rumble Johnson just sort of disappeared. We were all talking about, Rumble Johnson could come back and be a heavyweight, maybe even come back and do, light heavyweight. We haven't heard from him.
The world is exploding right now.
I'm just saying.
I feel like some of these people have better things to do than train and worry about Dana White's fragile ego.
Okay.
I'm gonna take that back because that was harsh.
That was very harsh.
Let me take that back.
We're never gonna get press row at the UFC events now. Thanks, Casey.
Yeah.
No, that's on me. That's on me, Dana.
Hold on. So
let me
get this straight. He got an HR department, right? You know, you can't call and say, "Hey, what's Rumble's number?" Get him on the line right quick, and get him on the line. You tell me he can't do that? I'm the CEO. I'm the
I
visible
don't think he
front end
really.
of
I don't think he
UFC.
really wants Rumble to come back. Actually,
There's no room for him in the heavyweight division. Rumble, like, where do you put him at right now? It's too much of a mess. There's no upside for Rumble coming in.
Yeah, it
Who,
is.
who do you put? Who do you fight him against?
Against, let's see here. If Rumble was to come in, and as I'm looking at the heavyweight picture here,
He's got to fight top 5.
does
I
he?
don't think you start him from
He's
the
been out
bottom.
for. How do you feel about number 6 through 10, who's been there the entire time fighting? And they sit there and say, "Oh yeah, Rumble's gonna be number 5." They're gonna be so mad. They like, I would put him against either. As I'm looking here, I would put him against Overeem first and see how he
Okay.
does, and have him work his way up from there. Because Walt Harris, well, you know, Walt Harris was got to get mad motivated. Nothing against Walt Harris. Walt, you know, he's right there. He's looking at. He done took your spot. What you gonna do? That's how you start drama. Okay, you put him in the middle of it, and then make him work his way out of it.
The thing is, he'd be a money fight because people want to see, like, are those muscles for real, for real?
Yes.
So you got to give him a name, and honestly, rankings almost don't matter. So the name would have to be an Overeem because he's been a, a mainstay for so long. Well,
Yeah.
the other name that you'd have to throw out there is Greg Hardy because that gives both of them more viability.
Ooh. You know what? I don't even see Greg Hardy in the rankings. I thought Greg Hardy had a number behind his name, besides his name.
No, not yet. I guess.
Well, there you go. That's who you put him against. You put Greg Hardy, Rumble Johnson, and let's let them work it out. Because those two, I guarantee that will not be more than a round. All
Did I
right?
just have a legitimate UFC take?
Hey man,
Guys.
don't let George Silverman find you,
Hey,
dude. Okay?
so the other person I was thinking of was the Pitbull. You could put him up against the Pitbull. There you go. You figured it out.
I'm like,
Who is the Pitbull?
All right.
JDS.
Are you
The
playing
Pitbull?
EA UFC 3? Are you
No.
doing? Is
Look.
that what you're doing?
The
Or
Andre
Pitbull, I thought he
Arlovsky,
fought-
guys, come on.
Arlovsky? Oh.
You guys, I
As-
thought y'all were.
I wish we could see his hands as he's frantic.
Look, I'm over here like the Pitbull is in Bellator and he fights at 145. What are you talking about?
Like, you
Andre
guys-
Arlovsky. I thought you guys knew y'all's UFC.
Oh, we did. We just wanted that. You
I'm
didn't
gonna have to
know.
do this show on my
Okay?
own.
Okay. Because I could have saw
Oh
him.
boy, his fingers were moving.
Let's play the tape back. My fingers were always up here.
And I said Pitbull, and we all wanted to agree, but like,
Like,
who?
But
who?
Andre Arlovsky, but Andre
That'd be
Arlovsky
an interesting one.
Is another fighter who has been around for a long time, has a name, but the challenge with Greg Hardy is that they're trying to cultivate him and bring him up. You may not want to risk him fighting an Anthony Johnson and getting just destroyed, because
Why not?
Yeah.
because
I mean,
because you're trying to cultivate the next generation of heavyweight fighters. You don't want that. So you might want to put him against the Alistair Overeem or an Andre Arlovsky because of the fact that they do have name recognition. They both, I think, they're both on winning streaks right now, and so that would be the fight that you would want them to have, because if Andre Arlovsky doesn't fight another fight in the UFC, nobody's going to miss him.
Right.
I mean, y'all couldn't
Well,
remember his name when I gave you his nickname.
stop. Stop. Okay. No disrespect to the pit bull. All right, the Chicago pit bull at that. Yeah, Andre, you've done it. You've been there, done it. You don't even really need to come back to the ring except to eat popcorn on the side now. All right.
Who's the Pacific Islander guy with the full thigh tattoo that can't seem to win?
Mark Hunt.
No, not Mark.
Nah.
Ouch.
Oh,
It's
Oh.
I would love to see Mark Hunt fight again, though. I know it can't happen, but
Nah, he
man,
can't.
I'd love to see
it's
that.
Mark Hunt's guy though.
Ty Tavasa?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ty
yeah,
Tuivasa.
yeah.
There it is. I think that'd be an interesting matchup for him, but I don't know if it has that star power because we struggled again to find the name there. So It's just that's why I just don't know that there's a big enough reason to bring in Anthony into the picture because there's very few slots that he would fit well into. And on top of that, like I feel like Anthony's a crowd guy. Like he really fed onto it when he double knocked down Cormier, and it was the crowd. Ooh, like how do you knock someone down twice with one punch? Like that's legend status.
Exactly.
It's true.
Like there's nothing else for him to do right now.
So and so as we're talking about people who are walking away from the sport, Conor McGregor, of course, we know that he's walked away many times, but Dana White says he hasn't spoken to him, and he says, I don't chase guys. We offer guys 3 fights a year. You get 3 fights a year. I've got a roster full of guys who want to fight. That's pretty strong talk from Dana White about his golden child.
That translates to, I'm busy right now. I'll call you when I call you.
I don't know the Conor.
I think money's getting in. Yeah, I think money for real got in the way there. Like Conor knows his worth and what he brought to the UFC, and he didn't realize like how much his out of the octagon shenanigans and time away has tarnished his star. And so while Dana White is hesitant to talk about the fact that star is tarnished and easy to go in on John Jones, the reality is like the keyboard warrior in McGregor it's no longer a draw. Like Conor McGregor, like tagging onto your post no longer is an instant, immediate vibe and like everyone getting on board. He's lost his luster, and there is nothing left for Conor to do in the sport. He's champ. He's like basically the original champ. There's nothing more. Like he's not fighting with that same hunger that he had before. It's just proving that he can. So I don't see a reason for him to come in.
The only reason for him to come in is the fact that that's the only place he's going to get a spotlight. He's not going to get a spotlight anywhere else. Become a billionaire with your proper 12. You're going to sit in a beautiful office. You're going to be able to fly or drive anywhere you want, but you're not going to have a spotlight. You're not going to have millions of fans cheering you on when you're a successful business person. And that's the thing.
But see, he can hit that same status as Super Bowl champion. He's got a ring. Everybody's going to talk about you, okay? Everybody will talk about you. He could go 10 years without fighting. We will still talk about.
That's not the way the sport works. That is not the way the sport works. Because I can tell you right now, who was the Super Bowl champion in 2010? Probably Tom Brady. But, you know, what we're trying to get at is... Statistically, it's probably Tom Brady. But somebody else not named Tom Brady, we're not talking about them. I mean, we're not...
Carson Wentz.
Carson Wentz never actually won in the Super Bowl. He was hurt, and so he sat on the bench and watched the Super Bowl. Was given a ring, and I'm an Eagles fan. But we're not talking about Nick Foles, and that's only 3 years ago, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
We're not talking about Nick Foles. And he had the greatest game, one of the gutsiest performances we've seen in the history of the Super Bowl. And we're not talking about him 3 years later.
Are you sure about that?
I'd agree. I think this is why Conor has tried to inject himself into that GOAT conversation, because his legacy, like his body of work, it's interesting. It was fantastic, but it was more fantastic because of the crowd support and not the actual work in the octagon. So,
well, you say it's interesting, but you didn't say it was impressive.
Because it wasn't to me. Like his most impressive finish is probably
Aldo.
I would say what was the guy
there.
before the guy before him? The dude who just didn't show up at all in his fight.
Aldo.
Alvarez.
I
would say that was more of a real fight, because the Aldo thing, it's like, that's impressive. Like, you got this fast knockout. But realistically, I think Aldo was game. And had it not been that, like, there's still too much controversy there. It's like, yeah, cool, but like you almost got ragdolled by a wrestler who was out literally the week before. So I just don't know that Conor has, in the octagon itself, done much beyond the Aldo thing to say like, oh, he's the baddest. It's no, you just draw a good crowd and you talk trash.
So Johnny is out in the audience tonight. He says, yet we're still talking about Anderson Silva.
Mm.
Because Anderson was a game changer. He was putting on actual clinics in the middle of a fight, hands down, up against the fence. Throw what you got. I'm gonna counter it. Like, he's got legendary fight after legendary fight that everyone goes back to watch. How many of us are really going back to watch a McGregor fight?
I mean,
How many of us are going to watch the Matrix elbow that he threw in a lesser known organization? Okay.
I'll go back and I still watch Anderson Silva boxing. I watch him kickboxing. Like, I'm not doing that for McGregor.
Conor McGregor.
I'm actually surprised that you do that, because the fact is that we talk about Anderson Silva. Technically, he's still active on the roster, but at the end of the day, it's like on this show, we might make a reference to Anderson Silva, and that's really just as a comparison to other people. We're not actively having conversations because he is technically not relevant to the sport today. And once he is, what you don't have to clutch the pearls. I'm like he's not like he's not in contention for a belt. He's not moving. He's not making any types of. So it's just one of those things where it's like Anderson Silva. We all have a spot in our hearts for him because of what he's done. He's got a legacy that's going to carry him into the Hall of Fame, and he is considered one of the greatest fighters of all time. Yes, of course we're going to talk about him in reference to greatness, but at the end of the day, once he retires and he is fully retired, we are not going to mention the name Anderson Silva, and Anderson has to get used to not being in the spotlight.
I'm going to mention Anderson Silva a lot.
Whew. Ryan. That's a lot to take part there.
Right.
Get him, coach.
All right. So anyway, the 2010 Super Bowl champs were the New Orleans Saints.
Okay.
Oh, my cousin played.
Who did they play?
Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah.
Okay.
My cousin played. James E. Heddyville, 32. Check him out.
No, they didn't play Baltimore. They played the Colts.
My point is made.
Yeah.
Like, we've established it. We don't even know who played 10 years ago. Once you're out of the spotlight, you just don't. It's that's the way sports are. Johnny responded. He goes, if you look at Conor's wins, though, he's beat a who's who of featherweights and lightweights. I disagree with you a little bit. And the reason why I disagree with you is because if you go back to our old shows, the complaint that I always had with Conor was that he was basically given, with the exception of Dustin Poirier, which was a punch behind the ear, he was basically given tomato cans all the way up to Jose Aldo. He immediately after Jose Aldo got Eddie Alvarez. Eddie Alvarez didn't show up that day, and he never defended a single belt, and he then lost to Nate Diaz, fought Nate Diaz, and that's been his career until Cowboy Cerrone. Like, he fought Habib Nurmagomedov and got embarrassed. He got outstruck by a wrestler.
As my dad would say, he was embarrassed.
He's embarrassed. and so it's like you have this greatness of Conor McGregor's ability to promote himself. You've got this greatness of this story, but when you actually look at his career, you've got this up and down kind of thing that for everything that we celebrate, you're either looking at a fighter who he was twice the size of in the featherweight division, or he was getting beat by someone that he should have won. And I don't mean to be like this big Conor hater. We're probably going to lose all our fans because they're all loving Conor, but it's at the end of the day, the point that I'm making is that 3 years from now, once Conor McGregor retires, we're not going to be talking about Conor McGregor.
Unless there's a flash knockout, and then we're like, oh, yeah, remember that time Conor knocked out Aldo.
Right. It's ultimately going to be the fact that Conor had a lot of great wins, Johnny, but Conor didn't build a legacy that is going to survive the way someone like Anderson Silva's will. He's not going to survive the way George St. Pierre's will. He's not going to survive the way John Jones will. And with all the negativity that John Jones has, we will still be yelling picograms.
Johnny, I got to be real with you. This is what it's like to talk to Ryan on every subject. He just dogpiles.
Pretty much. Welcome to the club, man.
We are not going to make it through the run sheet tonight.
You disintegrated the poor guy now. He's hanging there, man.
Please
Stay
come
strong.
back to us, Johnny. Don't leave us.
Yeah, Johnny, this is the mental battle that I was referring to earlier.
But that's all I'm saying is that I don't disagree that Conor has some great wins, but Conor also has some devastating losses. And at the end of the day, he doesn't have a legacy that's going to persist after he truly is gone. So Johnny is still sending us messages. He does not. Johnny, I'll have to call you and we will have to have this out. It says Conor.
Don't do that, Johnny.
He says Conor only has 4 losses. I know Conor only has 4 losses, but at the same time, they're pretty significant losses, especially the one where he needed to win, and that's Khabib Nurmagomedov. All that trash talk.
It's just business. Don't hurt me.
Yeah. I mean, he was embarrassed. All right, let's go on. QAnon. I don't know.
Hold on. Ryan, stop before you do anything. Hit that music when you say QAnon.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I knew that was coming.
So there is an organization. It's kind of a loose organization of people who believe in the deep state and conspiracies that are political in nature. They're definitely a fringe group of people out there that are very sympathetic to the current administration. And the reason why it's relevant for our show is because we're starting to see symbolism from this organization that is very much kind of a right-wing organization, far right, starting to show up in MMA spaces. The first one was there was a flag flying, a QAnon flag flying on top of Jackson Winklejohn's gym.
It doesn't surprise me even a little bit because I got to be careful here.
Do it, man. Do it.
No, he does have to be careful here.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is they didn't know it was up there. Someone got up there, planted a flag, and it's waving. There was a picture that was made, and they had to really go into the PR and be like, "Listen, guys, we brought it down as soon as it came to our attention that it was there. We denounced all hate groups, alt-right groups, militia violence. We equally denounce those bad actors who keep trying to falsely portray or extremely diverse and accepting MMA gym as anything other than for their own shameful politics and agendas. We know that there have been some stories out there about, challenges that have been, that the gym has had with different tweet posts on Twitter and things like that. But this is one of those things where it's like, given the climate that we're in, for this flag to be up there, it's just one of those signs that, like, this is such a volatile world right now.
So, wait a minute. Are you saying that QAnon somebody from QAnon, or maybe Q himself, planted the flag up there and chose Winklejohn as the designated gym for the Patriots to come and train and for the fight that President Trump is putting against those who are against the heretics that are here in the United States? Is that what he's doing?
Before that goes on, I was about to make these concentric circles with my hands, and a symbol came up that does not represent me or my values. I'm simply just getting into these concentric circles, and it was on camera for a second, so just need that to be addressed.
If y'all didn't know, Colby Covington is actually going to train at Winklejohn's.
Hit my
So
music, dog.
This is where the
I'm just playing. I just thought I'd toss it out there. I got
Dude.
you. I got you. Fake news.
Oh my gosh.
But
Oh my God.
I think there is some weird overlap in like how Jackson Winklejohn's gym has this kind of paramilitia mentality where they've got some of these former military people in who are here now patrolling the streets. And, hey, I'm for it. Like I'm pro-military U.S. I'm for it. Like every gym I've ever been to, like there's always military people, but it's less about like the actual military people and more about those who are in this cosplay mode or like they never actually got to see action elsewhere. And so now they want to dress up in their tactical pants and go patrol their neighborhoods. Like it's so fitting for this kind of like, I consider it kind of the stolen valor of I'm basically going out here pretending to be more of
More of a badass than what you really
yeah,
are.
I didn't know if I could say that
Well,
on the show. But that's exactly
it's fine.
Okay.
You
That
got
was the
Johnny.
concentric circles I was seeing.
You got Johnny too, George. So it was like breaking news. We were all going look up. Oh my gosh, Colby Covington training. He does need to find a new gym. The reason why I bring it up is because this is the first, but it's not the only case of QAnon showing up at in the MMA world. That a veteran UFC cut man, Don House, was wearing a Q on his on his cutman uniform, and an acronym which stands for "Where we go one, we go all."
Yeah.
And so
How did Dana White let this happen with his fight kits?
Hold up. Dana White is friends with who?
That's fair. Oh,
And who is the chosen one of?
that's fair. Good point. Yo, this music
So-
is too apropos for this segment.
So anyway, that's the thing that it's been weird. So be on the lookout for places where this Q and QAnon start to show up in these spaces. Just
What
so
if
that we're
Antifa
clear
shows
in the
up?
event, because I don't need Greg Jackson or Mike Winklejohn rolling up on me. I'm not saying that you guys. I'm not saying anything negative about your gym.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you guys knew anybody that might have put the flag up there. You clearly didn't know. You took it down as soon as you saw it, and you released a statement upon which I read. So, like,
I don't remember you saying that in the pre-show. In fact, this feels like a flip-flop.
No, it's not.
Oh,
Are you serious?
I
read
just wanted to
I
give
read
you
the
the
quotes.
Anthony. I wanted to give you that Anthony Smith feeling, like, oh, I could really run into him. Like, you almost got me murdered.
No. I only brought it up because of the fact that it was the first. It made headlines because it was there,
Yeah.
and then in the Octagon this past weekend, it was there again. You know,
Yeah.
unrelated but related, right? Let's speed up a little bit. Platinum Mike Perry ain't so platinum anymore. You know, we were talking about the fact that Platinum Mike Perry was not going to fight his next fight with an actual corner. He's basically going to have his girlfriend in his corner, and that's it. Well, recently a video surfaced, and his fists were all cut up and bloody, like he was. You know, it was funny. The article that I was reading, they were quoting "Mind Playing Tricks on Me" by the Ghetto Boys, where Bushwick Bill's like, you know, my hands were all bloody from punching on the concrete. This is one of those things where I think we're watching someone self-destruct in front of our eyes. And it's sad because not only is it happening before our eyes, but other fighters are beginning to speed him along that process. So you've got Platinum Mike Perry, who now has gotten rid of his corner. We've seen him super damaged as part of his training, getting ready for the fight that is happening next month. And now Darren Till created a website lampooning him called "Mike Perry is a Bum."
It's problematic on many levels because of how far Darren Till was willing to push somebody who's clearly like in the midst, not starting, but in the midst of mental crisis. And I know that is part of the sport. And John, as you said, like first thing you got to do is beat them mentally, and you've won the fight. And so I would say that Till has won this hands down because
he went hard.
Mike Perry has no retort and can't really. But the problem to me is, like, I would say priority number 4 for the Fighters Union has to be getting guys who've been in for more than 5 fights, like a mandatory mental health check or something. Because this CTE stuff is real and how it affects cognition as well as overall mood and demeanor. Mike Perry's not okay. He hasn't been for a long time. And it was cute for some, the antics about him being 1% black, and let's just let that ride. But once someone starts to slide to where it is now, what's the recovery path for him?
It's tragic. It is tragic because we are seeing this, and he is still going into these fights, and he is less prepared than he was when he first started. Unless his girlfriend is a fight genius, then he is going to walk into that ring unprepared, and he is not going to have the same type of care that we have been asking for from our coaches. I mean, think about, we just did a story about Robert Drysdale trying to keep his fighter fighting. You've got someone who is not a fighter, who's not a coach in your corner, and she's by herself. You think she's going to be there to stop this fight if the fight gets out of hand?
Yeah. Coach.
Hey, play your conspiracy music again for me.
Oh, man.
Here we go.
Coach is ready.
Mike Perry, mental health issues. Diego Sanchez, mental health issues. QAnon, hanging out at Winklejohn's. Both Mike and Diego came out of Winklejohn's. Is there a connection between mental health and being at Winklejohn's?
Oh, man.
Make the connection yourself.
Let's close the show on that.
We start snapping the fingers. What do we do here? Where it's like...
we say it's you.
Man.
That's what we say. So wait.
No, in all seriousness, Mike Perry, I think you said it, KC. He hasn't been right in a long, long time. And we see the further, descent into his mental health issues, where he's distancing himself from people who could actually be of help to him, and surrounding himself with people who either, one, can't stand up for him mentally, that are in a position where they benefit by not standing up for him, or... So I don't know, man. I think the UFC does need to step in to some degree and figure some things out in this, because we're seeing it way too often now. It's just my thoughts on it. The UFC needs to step in on situations like this when people are recognizing that fighters are dealing with mental health issues, and they're taking themselves out of circles that could look after them, such as coaches, such as a team, such as teammates, and saying craziness like, I'm just going to train to let my girlfriend hold pads for me. Did y'all see that video of her holding pads for him?
No.
When y'all get a chance, go look. And like you would definitely understand that there's definitely some mental health issues going on with him. So.
Wow.
Dana White said he's never going to limit what people say, so he might have to come off that stance for this, because this could get bad.
It's going to have to take someone like Mike Perry jumping off the deep end before
hopefully not literally,
before they have to do something. Like it's this is one of those times where we see it as commentators on the sport. We see it, but until it affects the brand, everything's fair play.
It's like master level trolling is just like the name of the game.
Oh my gosh, look at that. And you're off the screen again. What happens?
KC, he really did take you off the screen earlier too. For real, for real.
Yeah.
So, on the subject of Mike Perry, I'm looking at him and I'm looking at this pad work. We'll throw quotes on this. Yeah, we need an intervention for real. This is, I mean, isn't there supposed to be a policy at some point that if you're representing the organization, that you have to sit there and say, "Hold on, man." Okay, I think this would definitely be one of those moments because she's right now. They're showing video of her punching him in the stomach, and no, no,
Yeah.
So
no.
typically with promotions, there is supposed to be some rules in place that don't allow you to circumvent having an actual coach and proper channels to move into a fight promotion. So typically what has to happen is if a fighter wants to fight, he has to have a coach. The coach signs off on you fighting for this promotion and those kind of things. I don't know, what's going on with Mike Perry in terms of that and who he's got signing off on paperwork and things like that. Also, the commissions should be looking to step in whatever state he's trying to fight in. So that.
Oh, he's fighting on. He's fighting on Fight Island. There's no
Ooh.
commission. It's the UFC.
All right.
So that's a Fight Island fight. He's actually not going to be sanctioned by anything other than the UFC. So that's how he's getting away with it.
Mm.
Speaking of the UFC, they planning for the worst. There's a story that says that Dana White reveals that the UFC is planning for a second COVID-19 shutdown. And so, if in the event that there is a second wave of outbreaks, then it could have a negative effect on the UFC. So, basically, Dana White has already kind of started planning for that eventuality, and if so, he's trying to make sure that he doesn't get any layoffs. The reason why that's important is because one FC just laid off 20% of their workforce.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have to, but they did.
So
I'm not mad at them for that. I'm really not. I'll say it like this: they're prepping. Okay, it's in the long run, you probably will have to make some cuts. I know they're not going to be permanent cuts. They're just temporary cuts. And you gotta sacrifice a few for the many.
Utilitarian much, okay.
well, basically,
Yeah.
what they said is that everybody that they cut, they gave a severance to. It was listed as generous, but who knows what that means.
Yeah, everyone says that.
But but people did get a severance, and so according to their president, it was one of the most difficult things, heart-wrenching decisions I've ever had to make in life. They've got a strong balance sheet, but it puts us in the position to aggressively continue building Asia's largest global sports media property. These are extraordinary times for the world that require unusual prudence to protect our company and ensure its longevity for many years to come. Remember, we talked about ONE FC coming to the United States. So there's also that. It's going to take incredible investment for them to be able to lift the ONE FC brand to the level of even Bellator or PFL, much less the UFC. So there's going to take some additional income. I can tell you, as a person who works in marketing, just getting awareness of your brand in a new market is extremely expensive. And so it's probably more so them making those financial cuts so that they can make that push into the U.S. and actually go at UFC. The one thing is that Dana White did say, as he learned about the layoffs, he says, "I don't wish that on anybody. People think I hate all of these promotions or these other groups, but all these other groups need to survive for this thing to work for everybody. People getting laid off and losing their jobs, I don't wish that on anybody ever." So
Stop making me like you, Dana.
So another reason to like Dana White and another company that's losing their job is Reebok. We know for a fact that Reebok is not going to get the deal for the UFC fight kit. They're going somewhere else, but we do not know who. We know it could either be Nike, Under Armour, or Venom.
I so desperately want it to be Nike for the reason of the whole conspiracy stuff and the QAnon. All those folks who burn their Nikes, what you gonna do now?
Oh.
I'm just vindictive like that.
Petty.
You know, we talked about this on the Intelligent Defense Fight group, the discussion group. I hope that whoever it is, one, that their people actually watch MMA.
Yes.
Yes.
Because Reebok clearly didn't, and they got so many things wrong in that first year that it was ridiculous. Two, I hope that it is Nike, because I want to see them actually do something with walkout shirts. Like the walkout shirts that Reebok did were terrible. They were afterthoughts. I'd love to see someone with some actual designers put some awesome walkout shirts for these fighters if they're going to be wearing Nike kit. And last, I really do wish that they would allow undercard and prelim fighters to get their own sponsors. If you're not fighting on the main card, you don't get the Nike sponsorship. You get your own sponsors. That's how you.
But
make
then
money.
what if they make more money on the undercard?
Who
Then
cares?
they'll be making.
I mean, the UFC is paying them almost nothing to fight. So if they actually make more money with their sponsorships than fighting, great.
So you're gonna sit there and say that okay? So here's the crazy scenario. We got all these fighters. We got a main card. Main card is getting Nike. Undercard gets you get whatever sponsors you want. People are
That
gonna
can't
be
happen.
people are going to be trying to stay on the undercard and the prelims because they'll make more money there. Okay,
Well-
unless Nike offers up a buku amount of money to make it worth a fighter's time to lose that sponsorship in the main card.
Well,
Since
I just
Dana-
want to give you an idea of like this last UFC on ESPN. What was that? Number 11.
Mhm.
The lowest paid fighter on the card was Max for 12 grand. If he won, he would have got 24 grand. The highest paid fighter on that card was Jim Miller. He got $208,000. He made more than Curtis Blaydes did, who was the main event.
That's wild.
But that's your contract.
Who else made good money on that one? Let me look here.
I wouldn't even fight
Raquel
George
Hinton
for
made
12.
126,000. Who else? But yeah. Oh, the guy that Jim Miller fought, he only made 25,000. Jim Miller made.
I
200
gotta fight you with everything in me because I know how much money. Like you're gonna earn every bit of that 100K.
Yeah. So pay does have there is a pay issue in the UFC.
Branding's a problem because what you just laid out, where it's like a split between undercard and main card. I mean, they don't even allow high school students to wear Adidas if they're sponsored by Nike. Like, I don't see how that flies in the professional ranks.
Yeah, it probably couldn't work. I'm just saying this is what I would like to see because we know that these undercard fighters who are wearing this kit, they're not making hardly any money off of that. So let them go, and maybe you give them 3 sponsors they get to have. You get to have 3 sponsors, make as much as you can on your 3 sponsors. But if you grow, then what's the most that a fighter can make in a prelim fight with 3 sponsors? I don't know what that answer is, but presumably if you're winning and you get to a main card fight and you're fighting on a main card now, you should make more money than a prelim fighter with 3 sponsors. You should.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I agree.
Anyway,
Fighters Union.
Dana White has announced his Mount Rushmore. Dana White
Lord.
says his Mount Rushmore includes Royce Gracie, wise choice, Amanda Nunes, John Jones, and Chuck Liddell. That's his 4.
Chuck?
Does it also sit on desecrated native land?
Yes.
Okay,
Absolutely.
just checking.
Wait a minute. Chuck?
Chuck Liddell. Everybody, People basically balked at Chuck Liddell as him.
It makes sense to me.
Please,
He's an
explain.
well, just because he's an originator, that was a big draw back in the day, and like everyone knows the Iceman Chuck Liddell, even outside of like the UFC. I think he was one of the people who gave it more of the at home or in home recognition outside of the sport. Like
Are
the
you
dude's an
saying
icon.
Are you saying he's a champion that we're still talking about to this day?
No,
I hate you so much.
but we're not. When was the last time
You
we talked
got
about
me.
Chuck Liddell?
About 30 seconds ago.
No, before that.
You know, hey, apparently he's still in the conversation.
When he got
Irrelevant.
knocked out last,
Yes.
I
Now,
he was talking about coming back.
think it was about a couple of episodes ago when we talked about how he got knocked out. I think it was.
right. Like this great champion, what are we talking about? That time he got knocked out. Those last 4 fights where he got knocked out every single time and it was out cold. It wasn't a TKO, it was KO. You know, that's what we talk about. So,
Still getting
But I
knocked
think
out.
the Chuck Liddell thing makes sense to me. I think it is fully locked into the notion of bringing brand recognition. Like he was the face of UFC for so long in
Yes,
early
he was.
UFC.
yeah, he
Yes,
was with Dana White when Dana White and the Fertitta brothers took over. That's kind of their star.
Yeah.
It was
makes
him.
sense.
It was him
Tito.
and Tito.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I would like to go around the horn. Who is on your Mount Rushmore? I'll start with George G. Money Stallworth.
Anderson Silva, GSP, John Jones. I go with I'm putting JJ on there, Joanna. And who else would I put on
That's
there?
4. That's it. You only get 4
Okay.
slots.
All right, yeah, that's what I'm going with.
All right. John Keys.
Hoist Gracie, George St. Pierre, Ronda Rousey. I'll put her on there. And who would be that 4th? I hate to say it, John Jones.
There it is. KC.
Anderson Silva, John Jones, Ronda Rousey, Chet Congo.
Come on. I'm not even dignifying that.
Bruh, the moment you brought it up, it took everything. I was
That's
pressed.
Mount
straight face.
Rushmore. We're talking about Mount Rushmore.
Straight face. Oh, then Matt Serra.
Oh yeah.
All right, fine.
That.
There you go.
Wait a minute. He couldn't have Chet Congo, but he can have Matt Serra? What's that?
Because at
I
least Matt
mean-
Serra was a champion.
Oh.
I mean, Chet Congo got a title shot in Bellator, and then what? It got poked in the eye, and then he hadn't fought since. I mean, come on, bro. That's not Mount Rushmore. That's Mount Flushmore.
Oh.
Okay. Because I don't believe in this whole concept of Mount Rushmore, I'm not gonna give my.
Boo.
No, I'm kidding. I don't. I think the notion there are too many great fighters for there to be a Mount Rushmore. I think it should be a fighter of Valhalla is what it should be. But my 4 would have to be Demetrius
Check.
Mighty Mouse Johnson,
I forgot about him.
Hoist Gracie, Johnny Bones
El
Jones.
Kukui.
I can't put El Kukui on it as much as I would love to. I can't put El Kukui. And I would have to put George St. Pierre.
No women.
You know what? I love George by putting Joanna Jędrzejczyk. She is definitely at the top of my list.
Trailblazer.
But I gotta have George St. Pierre. I gotta have
Mighty Mouse for sure.
Mighty Mouse for
you
sure.
can't do it. Yeah.
You know, I gotta have Hoist Gracie because I consider him my GOAT, and John Jones is probably the legitimate GOAT. So those are the 4.
That's
So,
fair.
Um,
That's important.
We have had a long show. We got one more segment. Thank you all for staying with us as long as you have. This is the Fight Card. All right, this is the fight card. This is where we talk about the fights that are coming up this weekend. And just so that you know, I almost hit the finish on this, the end broadcast button instead of the switch. This almost would have been epic fail. All right, we got UFC Fight Night Poirier versus Hooker, Saturday, December 27th, 2020. UFC Apex, all of the fights are there until we get to Fight Island, which isn't technically an island. It's connected to the land.
Fight Peninsula.
Fight Peninsula. Fight Estuary, whatever. Las Vegas.
Is there water on three of the four sides? I think
believe so.
it's surrounded water.
I don't think it's
Fight
surrounded by water.
Estuary.
Yeah, I think it's Fight Estuary, but that's too long. All right, you got Luis Pena versus Kama Worthy. Remember, that's Violent Bob Ross, right?
Yes.
Aspen Ladd versus Sarah McMahon. I think that one got canceled. I think McMahon got injured. Maurice Green versus John Villante. Brendan Allen versus Kyle Dawkins. You got Mickey Gall versus Platinum Mike Perry. That is the fight that I'm interested in watching to see what happens there. And you got Dustin Poirier versus Dan Hooker. We're going to make flash fight picks. We'll go around the horn. Mickey Gall versus Mike Perry. KC, who you got?
Mike Perry.
All right. Let's go with you, John.
I think that 2% will get him through. I'm going with Mike Perry too.
All right. And what you got, George?
I'm going against the mainstream. I'm picking Mickey Gall for the win by submission.
I'm picking Mickey Gall as well. That's an excellent pick. Dustin Poirier versus Dan Hooker. That is the main event. George, who you got?
Man, I'm going with Dan Hooker. He's hot right now. I don't know what else to say. We got champions all coming out of his camp, man. I think this is the go time for the Hook.
All right, there you go. John.
Yeah, Hooker's hot, but Dustin is a diamond. He is determined. So I'm going with Dustin Poirier.
All right, Casey.
And in keeping with my Christian upbringing, I never put money on hookers. So.
Wow.
Just on one.
Close to the edge, but never over. I appreciate your technique, sir. I appreciate it for gleaming the cube, sir. Thank you.
More like losing the juice is what he did.
Oh man.
Okay, so you're going Dustin Poirier. I'm actually going Dan Hooker as well. I'm on the Hook train there. I think he's gonna get it done. Follow us on social media on Instagram. I'm at Combat Sports Talk. KC, who you got?
I am at Obfuscated, spelled OBFUSCT, the number 8 ED.
All right, John.
I'm at Keys to Victory, and that's Keys with an ES.
And George?
Darkside_MMA_.
You can find us on our website at www.combatsportstalk.com, and we are on all of your favorite podcasting platforms. Please be sure to like and subscribe. You can use any of those platforms up there. Yes, point to your right, Casey. There you go. You got it. Shout out to MMA Junkie, MMA Fighting, MMA Mania, Bloody Elbow, and the Intelligent Defense Discussion Group on Facebook. All of those sites are where we get the content for our show. The great discussions that we have here start on the Intelligent Defense Discussion Group. So, on behalf of John Keys, George Stallworth, and Kelechi Onyebuchi, my name is Ryan Smith, reminding you to keep your hands up, your chin tucked, and throw bombs. We'll catch you next time.